The headline screams Trump and Iran, but the real story isn't about nuclear disarmament or a peace treaty. It's a transactional power play where U.S. leverage is being cashed in for two specific strategic assets, containing Hezbollah in Lebanon and guaranteeing open shipping lanes through the Strait of Hormuz. The agreement you're hearing about is actually a side-channel deal to buy Iranian cooperation on regional chokepoints, not moral disarmament. To understand this shift, we must look beyond the usual diplomatic theater. In June 2026, following the United States withdrawal from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action 1 year prior, Special Representative Brian Hook outlined a strategy defined by maximum economic pressure. The objective was never traditional diplomacy in the sense of building trust or shared values. It was about disrupting Iran's proxy funding networks to force Tehran into cooperation on regional stability. This is realpolitik stripped bare, using financial strangulation not as punishment for its own sake, but as a lever to buy specific behavioral changes from a rival state that has long operated outside international norms. The primary target of this campaign was the network in Lebanon. Hezbollah is often viewed through the lens of local politics or religious conflict, but strategically, it functions as an extension of Iranian power projection on Israel's northern border and U.S. interests in the region. Historically, Iran provided approximately $700 million annually to Hezbollah before current pressure campaigns intensified. This sum constituted roughly 70% of their operating budget. When you cut off a lifeline that large so abruptly, you do not get silence. You get distress signals from an organization known for its secrecy and operational discipline. Evidence suggests the pressure worked with startling speed. In March, just months into this new phase of coercion, Hezbollah leadership made an unprecedented public appeal for funds. This was a rare sign of weakness in an entity that has spent decades projecting strength through silence. By exposing their financial distress publicly, they signaled to Tehran and Washington alike that the cost of continuing the proxy war had become unsustainable. The United States did not need to fire a single shot against Hezbollah directly. It simply squeezed the money supply from upstream in Tehran, forcing the group's leadership into negotiations under duress. This is how you contain an adversary without triggering a broader ground invasion. Cut their wallet and watch them retreat from the front lines they once defended so fiercely. Quick resource note. I keep a curated set of Amazon search links in the description for books, gear, and tools relevant to this channel's topics. Some are affiliate links, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Please consider supporting the channel by using those links if you find something useful. However, financial pressure alone does not explain why this moment feels different or more dangerous than previous rounds of sanctions. The context for this agreement was established on June 19, 2026, when kinetic force entered the picture in a way that redefined the stakes entirely. Acting on intelligence regarding imminent weaponization capabilities, the United States bombed 3 key nuclear facilities, Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. This was not a warning shot or a limited strike designed to degrade capacity slightly. It was an act of total destruction doctrine aimed at specific high-value targets buried deep underground. The choice of ordnance tells us everything about the intent behind this move. 6 massive GBU-57 penetrators were dropped specifically on the Fordow facility, which is located miles beneath a mountain range designed to protect it from conventional airstrikes. The use of such specialized bunker-busting weapons signaled that the United States was willing to destroy the physical infrastructure of Iran's nuclear program entirely, rather than escalate toward total war or engage in endless cycles of negotiation and violation. This display of overwhelming force served as leverage calibration. It demonstrated a willingness to go all in on destroying the regime's strategic assets if Tehran refused to cooperate, thereby creating an environment where accepting a transactional deal became the only rational option for survival. This brings us to the core driver of Iran's decision-making: regime survival. The supreme leader, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Hosseini Khamenei, has long prioritized ideological expansionism and regional dominance over internal stability, but that calculus shifted when faced with existential threats to his power structure. In a move that short-circuited the traditional selection process for leadership continuity, he named 3 successors immediately prior to or during this conflict. This is not standard protocol. It is an emergency measure taken by leaders who believe their time may be cut short and who need to ensure the state apparatus remains intact, even if they are removed from power permanently. The implication of naming these successors while under active bombardment cannot be overstated. It signals that survival is now the only priority, superseding ideology or regional ambitions. When a regime leader prepares for their own potential removal during an ongoing crisis, it indicates that they view the current situation as one where total destruction looms if no deal is struck. For Tehran, this vulnerability makes accepting transactional agreements significantly more likely than risking direct retaliation that could threaten the regime itself. They are not negotiating from strength. They are buying time and stability to ensure the lights stay on in Tehran while paying a toll to keep ships moving through Hormuz. The resulting agreement reframes how we must read future headlines about Iran. When news breaks of Iranian cooperation or a new deal, do not assume it is about nuclear limits or human rights improvements. The real metric of success for this administration is whether Hezbollah stops firing along the border and oil tankers pass through the Strait of Hormuz without incident. The United States has traded the moral high ground of disarmament for hard strategic gains, neutralizing a proxy war on its northern flank and securing global energy flows, all while avoiding a full-scale regional conflict that would spike gas prices worldwide and draw in other major powers unexpectedly. This is the essence of modern statecraft in contested zones. It is not about winning hearts and minds or establishing permanent peace treaties based on shared democratic values. It is about calculating incentives and constraints to force an adversary into compliance with specific, measurable outcomes. The United States leveraged financial strangulation against Hezbollah's budget, backed by a demonstration of kinetic capability that threatened the very core of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. In return, Tehran agreed to contain its proxies and secure critical shipping lanes. It is a cold calculation where stability is purchased through coercion rather than trust, and where regime survival dictates foreign policy more effectively than ideology ever could. The stakes for global markets are immediate. The Strait of Hormuz remains the world's most vital oil chokepoint, handling roughly 20% of all consumed petroleum. Any disruption there sends shockwaves through every economy from Tokyo to Detroit. By securing Iranian cooperation on this front without a full-scale war, the administration has achieved what decades of diplomacy failed to do. It turned an adversary into a stakeholder in regional stability, at least for as long as the pressure remains applied and the regime feels its survival is still precarious enough to warrant compliance. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.